Hi, friends. Oh, it's a beautiful sunny afternoon here in California. My name is Samantha Sweetwater, and I am here to join you today for one among this beautiful series of Ho'oponopono meditations. It's an honor to be here. I thank you, Robin Youngblood, for inviting me here. And I want to start today with a prayer of gratitude from my heart to yours for showing up at these times of great opportunity to meet our shadows and know ourselves as perfect, imperfect emanations of the one heart we all share. Thank you for being here on this meditation today. And thank you for your willingness to be a healing and a helping human being. You know, the practice of Ho'oponopono, which I was privileged to learn about in 2018, is an ancient practice. I I'm really honored to be sharing this with you today, and I hold this very humbly. I claim no authority, particularly to be using this practice, other than the fact that I do my best to use it in my own life. So, the practice of Ho'oponopono is an ancient Hawaiian practice of forgiveness. And the kind of forgiveness that Ho'oponopono represents is the radical forgiveness of taking full and total responsibility for everything and anything that shows up in your life as the opportunity to make more wholeness with what is. The words mean to make whole. And the recognition in Ho'oponopono is that everything and anything that occurs on our path is a mirror and a manifestation of the one self that we all are. And that to embrace it with thank you, I love you, please forgive me, is to ask for the forgiveness that can only come from total responsibility for the everything that is the emanation from the one self that we each are. So it is from here that I wish to begin and say that, yeah, and just share that I learned about this practice from Ariel Spilsbury, who's the creator of the Mayan Oracle. I first learned about it from her, and have since learned about it from Leohu Ryder and other Hawaiian elders. And that Ariel shared with us the story of Dr. Len Hew, who was a psychiatric doctor, Hawaiian man, and a psychiatric doctor who was hired. This is a famous story of Ho'oponopono. He was hired by a criminal psychiatric ward, I believe in Honolulu, in Hawaii, in a place where they could find no solution to the violence that was in the ward. So much so that all of the employees were skirting along the walls when they traversed the hallways of the ward in order to stay safe from the violence um, that was moving through the inmates in the ward. And Dr. Lenhugh came into the his job, and he said, "Please give me files on every single person here. And I'm going into my office, and please don't bother me. I'm going to work on these cases." And he went person by person through every single record of every single person in that ward. And one behavior at a time, one record at a time, he welcomed into himself every single behavior, every single uh, trespass, every single wound, every single trauma. And he took full responsibility, the ability to respond in fullness. And he embraced each and every thing with unconditional and total love and forgiveness. Thank you. I love you. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Please forgive me. So, our most intimate sacred relationships are often the places where we get most triggered in early childhood patterning about what is or what isn't love, about what we deserve, what we don't deserve, about what we trust, what we don't trust, about shame, about blame, about rage, about boundaries. Our most intimate relationships are the place where we often experience the greatest rage, the greatest blame, the greatest judgment, the greatest expression of hatred, the greatest expression of entrapment, the greatest expression of guilt, the greatest expression of shame. And so Ho'oponopono, the practice of forgiveness in relationship, is so important. I personally use this practice in my relationship. I've been blessed recently to be relating with a man who has a very deep training in Hawaiian shamanism. And we walk with a commitment in our relationship when triggers arise to do one of two things. Our agreement is to either take a pause and create a space for authentic sharing when we're ready, which is distinct from a practice of Ho'oponopono or forgiveness, or to turn as quickly as we possibly can, back into love and forgiveness, and to take the time to make whole what has been trespassed or insulted or shut down or judged. So here's an example. Recently, we had an argument over money, and we felt that we had made different agreements. We were both very upset. One of us felt shamed, and the other of us felt our boundaries were trespassed. And things had been said along the way that were not happy, not at peace, not that were in judgment or in frustration. And so, in this practice, when there's heat between two people, it also takes the willingness of two people to set down that charge and come into the next stage of sitting heart to heart across from each other. So, what we do is it takes at least one adult in the room to begin this practice if you want to work with it straight out of a trigger situation. And then it takes the other person being willing to enough to come into an adult space to join the other adult in the room to do this practice. So the way we do that is by calling each other out and saying, "Are you ready to make this right?" And then what we do is we sit down in front of our altar or in front of the fireplace or on a couch, and we usually light a candle, which is an acknowledgement and a bringing in of spirit. And we sit face to face, heart to heart, and bring in exactly what was there that was the trespass or the unforgiveness. So here's an example. I have to give myself a moment to get into the space of this being real. Please forgive me. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me for seeing you as selfish. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me for defending my fear. I love you. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me for being afraid I wouldn't get what I needed. I love you. I'm so sorry projecting that on you. I love you. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me for not knowing how to tell you what I wanted. I love you. So, as you can see, as you start to dig into what happened with your partner, you start to find the layers of your own responsibility for your own behaviors and of your projections onto the other person, which really are not them, but are you. And that is what you ask, you invite forgiveness for. You embrace the whole of self and other, one part at a time, and you forgive the self. Please forgive me. I love you. So, this is something you can do also as a practice with the planet. You can do it as a practice with your communities. You can do it as a practice with mm, Trump. You can do it as a practice with anyone and anything that triggers you until you get to a place of total embrace. In relationships, in my relationship, I found that it's important not to do this practice if there are layers of the inner child or the adult that need to be heard or seen that aren't finding another way to be heard and seen. And in that case, I do a practice with my partner called the listening heart. So rather than going first into Ho'oponopono, um, and these things might not happen at the same time, the listening heart, and I'll share this practice with you right now because there's time. We take the time to unpack an authentic sharing and listen and hear without mediating how something needs to be said with an open heart. So one person asks the question and listens, and that person is the listening heart, and one person is the speaker, and they get to speak authentically using nonviolent communication, using I statements for what is true. And this can actually be a great way to start before you do Ho'oponopono practice. So one person would say, and the first question is, what does your heart know right now? And that's what the listening heart asks. And the listening heart offers no crosstalk. All you do is ask the question and listen. And if the speaker falls silent, you take a breath and ask the question again. And your job as the listening heart is to listen from the openness of your heart. I like to time this for a minimum of 3 minutes and a maximum of eight, depending on how what you're using the practice for. When you're using the practice to unpack triggers, it's actually really useful to do a shorter time, 3 to 4 minutes. If you're using it in a space where you're already really elevated and celebratory and you want to connect more deeply, you can do up to 8 minutes, and you can track up to 8 minutes. But if there's things that you're tracking in the space that are triggering, it's usually better to do shorter amounts of time. And then when you switch roles, The agreement is not to process, but to speak from the I, um, from a place of heartfulness. That can really open the heart field to prepare you for Ho'oponopono practice and really seeing what is truly in the field and seeing it mutually, seeing it from a compassionate lens that is fully um, connected to yourself and your own authentic arising experience, um, and fully connected to the other and feeling like you've heard them and they've heard you and you've heard yourself and been heard and they've heard themselves and been heard. And then you can open that into Ho'oponopono practice in a way that is truly uh, connective and has no spiritual bypass in it, has no kind of the shadow with Ho'oponopono practice can be if you're not fully dropped into your heart, that it can be a spiritual bypass. So it's important to make sure that you are dropped into a sense of authentic connection when you do this with a partner, because without that, it can feel actually subtly dissociative to one of the people, and that's not healthy. I'm a really huge advocate of um, deep authenticity combined with these extraordinary alchemical tools. And the alchemical tools only truly work when you're fully associated with yourself and with your core, your authentically arising experience. So that will close the teaching for today of Ho'oponopono and how to use it in your relationships and how to couple that with the listening heart meditation. And I thank you once again for being on this path, for being on the path of being an authentic, healing, helping human being living at these times of great evolution for our spirit as a species. Bless your life. Bless your day. Thank you. I love you. Bye. Once again, my name is Samantha Sweetwater, and if you want to find work with me or hire me for coaching, I am available at samanthasweetwater.com. Much love to you.